Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Robert with Sherburne Outdoors, and today we are talking about the Hcalory 2025 Diesel Heater Toolbox 2. Now, full disclaimer, Hcalory did send this to me to try out. It's diesel heater season, and if you've been watching the channel for a while, I do a lot of reviews on a lot of diesel heaters, and many of them are kind of the same. They use the same products, and they kind of look the same, and they kind of do the same thing. This is very different. This is I would call innovative. They've really taken maybe some of those same components, but they really put a very thoughtful design. And that's one thing I've always thought about diesel heater manufacturers is the design has not always been so thoughtful. Now this thing is pretty sweet, I have to say. And again, just how this is set up and built and the box construction and how they really thought out. These things used to be kind of stood up, and the exhaust and the intake would come out of the bottom. You can see here it comes out of the front. We got the intake on the back. So things have really been thought out. It can just sit anywhere at this point in time. So it's got this really great integrated design. Other things that it has that is really different is the display, and we'll get into this in just a little bit. Typically these Chinese diesel heaters have the same display on them all the time, and they're really hard to work with, and you're in Celsius, and if you're in the United States, it's not really set up for you. Working in the different modes, if they have it, are very, very difficult. This is not like that at all. They really have changed things up a little bit. They've got this great mobile app, all kinds of different functions, which we'll get into, from timer to temperature to just blowing to altitude mode. So if you're up in the mountains, you can set it up. And it's very, very configurable, and the mobile app is really good. Why do you need a diesel heater? I get this question quite a bit. And what is a diesel heater? Well, when you're out camping or you need some warm air, a diesel heater is a great option for that. It's very efficient in how it operates. It really needs two different power sources, some kind of battery to supply, or actually, this one's pretty cool. You can plug it into the wall. It's a little different than some of the previous reviews that I've done, which everything was 12 volt DC. This you can plug into the wall. We'll still use a power station for this so we can see what the watt draw is. And you need that for a couple things. So the electricity side, or what's coming from the battery, you need it to start up the glow plug, you need it to run the electronics, and also to run the fan. That's kind of what that part's for. The heating side is done with diesel fuel. And not gasoline, diesel fuel. I got lit up in a video I did last year when I accidentally said gas. Got quite a few comments. But anyway, so that actually goes in and injects into the engine, and we'll look inside of here in a minute, because they've got a really good design here. Kind of how it's done, and it spews out heat from that. So these used to come in a kit. This is an all-in-one. It's very easy. All I did was put the exhaust on, or the intake and the exhaust, started up. So very, very simple. These have come a long way. They're used in all kinds of applications. Like I use it in a rooftop tent camping application, RV, van life, home, lots of different applications for this. Traditionally, they've been called like a Chinese diesel heater. A lot of them look the same. So it is very innovative, and it is very different in how they approach things. Now, this is an 8 kW unit that we're looking at. It's about $229 on Amazon. I think there's a coupon there for 15 bucks off. You can just select the checkbox. That's as of today, which is what, the 22nd of October. And it has a 6-liter tank. Now, I recently did a test with the new Whip Pro with an 8-liter tank, and I did it on low and high and got really good results. On low, we got about 50 hours out of it. So we'll do a similar test with this. App, again, is just so easy to use. So there'll be a link in the description where you can get this. But I tell you what, why don't we take a little walk around and let you see what's inside of this. So on top, we've got the handle. We've got where we put our fuel in, our diesel fuel. And it's so easy to open up. Just lay that down. So we've got our 6-liter tank here, and it is completely full. We've got our engine here. Supposedly this is close to 40% more efficient than the previous version last year. If we go down a little bit further, we've got our exhaust. It's got this heat shield around it. Got some openings in the bottom. We've got our intake tube here, and then we've got our fuel pump, and then we got a little bit of electronics over here. And so this is the kind of the guts of the system here. And again, it's easy to open up, easy to latch. If we walk around, get to the back, we can see we've got our AC input. Nice, easy, you don't have to wire anything up, you just plug it in. We've got our digital display. We'll get into this in a few minutes. We'll probably use the app instead to kind of cycle through the different pieces. And then we've got our air intake here. And then we've got a big, huge intake here as well that really funnels and pushes air through the system to blow out the front. And then if we go around, we've got some venting. This is where they had in the 2024 model, they had an exterior tank. I don't know that I would like that. We've got our exhaust here. Be wary of that. That thing gets lightning hot. And then we've got our output where that actual air comes out in a heated fashion. Although this thing has blower capacity, so you can just blow air. But and you got your elements inside of there that it blows through and comes out, and it's super hot. So this is your basics of the heater itself. And the components it comes with, it does come with a vent, comes with a bigger hose. This is important actually because you are using a 4-inch tube instead of a 3-inch like old units did. It had some clamping, it has a remote. I'm not sure what good this is for anymore because they've got a great mobile app. It does have a DC connector if you want to wire this up and maybe plug it into like a DC output or a cigarette port. And then it has a manual. Most time these manuals are incredibly useless. This manual was pretty good. So this has a great mobile app. And so if we look at this diesel heater as itself, I've got it turned on and it's set in the gear setting right now, which means it's going to use a 1:10 heating ratio. Usually when I'm out rooftop tent camping, I use a 1. And trust me, that will blow out anything you need because this will almost do 300 square feet is what it's set up for. So it's got multiple modes. It's got a timer function so that you can set it up for if you're let's say I want to start it at 6 a.m. and have it go till 10 a.m. It's got a temperature setting, so if I want to set a temperature, say like 70 degrees in my garage, it'll heat up to that and stop. It's got a blower mode that you can go inside of, and it's got a gear setting, which is what we're on now, where it'll go from like a 1 to 10. And then it's got an altitude mode setting too, where you can actually set these up. And this is pretty simple. So we're on our mobile app here. Right now I've got this set to heating. If I wanted to go to our high plateau, which is their altitude mode, you can do that. I've got different scenes at the bottom. Like I've got an indoor scene, a tent scene. If I wanted to go to custom, I could set the temperature. I could do a start and stop differentiation. I can give it a name if I want to. We're not going to do any of that, but you can see here I've got different mode changes too. So I'm right now in a gear mode is what it shows at the top. It's heating up. If I want to do a mode change, I could go to a temperature mode and then select my temperature, and it would move to that particular temperature. This thing's great. And then I can do auto start and stop and just set it up. Now it does have settings up in the upper right hand corner where I can do unit switching. This was a bear on old units with the old Chinese diesel heater displays. Like changing it from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you needed to be a rocket science. Even if you could ever get it to work, I never could. And then you've got your Celsius and your feet and meters, however you want to set it up. I've got it set up in Fahrenheit and feet because I want to set it up that way. But if we look on our display, it lets me know that I'm at 787 feet. It's 75 degrees the body. The ambient temperature outside right now is 75 degrees. It's perfect. And it also has the time built in here. It knows what time it is based on my phone communicating with the circuitry in here. So this is really good stuff. It's nice and simple to use. And so when these things first start up, like this guy is starting up, when you first get these out of the box, let it burn for a little bit. And what I mean by that is start it up. You're going to see some smoking, and you're like, oh my goodness. It really is just the coating on the aluminum and on the exhaust just burning off. Just let it go and let it kind of go through its cycle. The other thing I want to talk about is when you have this, when you're finished. So it is ran, it's went through its cycle. Maybe it's out of fuel or you're getting to the end, or your camp day is over and you're getting ready to go. Make sure you power this thing down by hitting the power switch or using your mobile app. That will actually let it go through its cycle. It needs to burn things off interior and it will blow things out. It takes about 5 minutes. So startup takes about 5 minutes. Shut down takes another 5 minutes as well. These just used to be so difficult to use and they're so easy now. Times have really, really changed, and this app is absolutely awesome as well. Now, some other things about this, again, this is a 6-liter at 8 kilowatt version. It weighs about 21 pounds, so it's not that light, but it's pretty easy to use. So with that said, I want to run a couple different tests with this. I do this with every unit I have. How long will it stay on low, and how long will it run on high as a setting? This is a 6-liter version, and the Whip Pro that we just tested last week was an 8-liter, and it went 50 hours on low and 17 hours on high. So we're going to turn this down, and it's going wide open right now. Let's turn it down to 1 and let it cycle down. And so it'll work its way down. But with a 6-liter, but they're telling me this is so much more efficient. So I am going to guess we're going to go 40 to 45 hours is what I would guess on a 6-liter. at a setting of 1. All right, we are at almost 25 hours. Our system is still running. If we take a look at our mobile app here, we get a little insight into it. It's 230 degrees. It's 71 degrees outside. The 230 is inside the unit itself. And where are we? We talked about this thing going 40 or 45 hours. We don't know. Right now we're at 25. This is going to be one of the cons of this unit, is I don't know how much fuel is in the tank without letting it down. So if we look in here, I think I'm about half full, I think. So it doesn't have a window in the case here. So that would be kind of a con, I would guess. But anyway, so it looks like, you know, at 25 hours, looks like we're about half through. So maybe we can go 50 hours, I don't know. Let's take a measurement of how hot the elements are, the heating elements. So we put our zapper on here. We are running about 150 degrees. A lot lower than I thought. If we look at the exhaust, it's about 112. If we look at the muffler itself, it is about 82. Let's kind of zap the side of the unit. It's about 86. That is cooler than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a lot hotter. We are on a setting of 1, and it is pumping out some good heat. I mean, it's moving along. So I tell you what, so we're at 25 hours. Let's come back in another 20 hours and see where we're at. All right, it is 49 hours and 20 minutes, and this thing is still going on 6 liters. Now remember, the previous one that we tested from GoPro did 50 hours on 8 liters. Let's open this up. I can't see that there's any fuel left in the line or in the tank. And I look in there and the fuel line is still full and it's still going. I think we might get 50 hours. I'm a little bit mind blown. Well, that is crazy. I don't even think you can make that up. We're at 50 hours and 1 minute. And this thing just turned off. We're in an error code. If you ever see this as an E08, that basically means this thing is out of diesel fuel. Well, that was crazy. I don't think I anticipated that. I just did a test 2 weeks ago with a unit that I thought was very efficient with 8 liters, an 8-liter tank, and it went 50 hours. This new model, which is pretty cool, from Hcalory, the Toolbox 2 that's out now, you know, they have a lot of advertisements talking about how much more efficient it is and how it can go longer. Well, I am here to say it can go longer. So we were on a setting of 1, which I do all the time, especially when I'm in rooftop tent territory, and this went a little over 50 hours. I'm a bit shocked. I was thinking maybe 40, 45 if it was like perfect conditions. So that was amazing. This is very efficient. It is very easy to use, and I am so impressed with how long the fuel usage goes on this. So that was test 1, 6 liters, 50 hours on low. So let's reset everything. We had been doing our previous test on AC, using the AC adapter that comes there for low. For high, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it over to a DC connector. I took that cable that came with it and actually put a cigarette lighter plug on it, and we'll fire this up. So let me get this reset, and then we'll go for a high test and see how long it'll go. Now on high, the previous unit with the 8-liter tank from GoPro, it actually went 17 hours. I was thinking this would probably go 12, but maybe it can go 17. All right, we are reloaded, and we're going to start our next test of on high. We're just going to go on what's called the gear mode, and we're going to go all the way up to 10. It is starting its startup process. I just turned it on. Let's grab the camera, look around. A couple things I want you to see is how many watts this thing is pulling off of the Blue Eddy on DC when it's starting up with the glow plug. It'll be a lot more than when it gets going. And then let's see how many watts it's using when it's moving. All right, you can hear the pump starting to increase. It's priming up as it's starting its journey up to a level 10. And if we look here, we're pulling 100 watts on DC to the unit as it's heating up. It's going anywhere from 100 to 113. When we were on AC, it was going up to that 125, 130, and I think that has to do with the inverter adding about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 watts to it. Hey, so our unit's getting up to speed here as we're working our way till 10. You can hear it, it's moving pretty good. No ticking, but it's just the fan's just at max capacity right now. Hey, one thing I did want to touch on is on the mobile app, really the high altitude piece. I just kind of glanced over this before, and there is a indicator here for high plateau. This means turn on the altitude piece. And if we go up to our settings in the upper right hand corner, like we came in before and changed this to feet and to Fahrenheit, we can go down to altitude and we can adjust our current altitude here. And this will actually make the heater run better. So if you're up at 5 or 10,000 feet, maybe not 10,000, but you know, you're in Colorado or somewhere else, you can adjust this and it'll run a lot more efficient. So that's altitude. All right, gang, we are at 23 minutes in, I guess 23 and a half. And if we look at our unit, we are at 396 degrees inside of there, which is crazy. We are currently pulling about anywhere from 29 to 40 watts, and this thing is wide open. I mean, you can hear it, no ticking, but you can hear it. I mean, it's really pounding out. So what I want to do now is take a couple measurements. So if we look in here, let's hit it there. We're running about 260 in the center, and about, I don't know, 175 coming out beginning. We come down, we're running about 170, 140, somewhere in there, and then about 100 on the muffler. And the side is about 90, and it's about 65 degrees outside, so it's pretty nice. So again, we're fairly early into this test. Yeah, you can see this, the heat coming out of this and the elements inside of that are almost twice as hot as they were when we were doing the low test. So definitely putting out a lot more heat, probably gonna do a ton more fuel consumption. All right, we are 12 hours and 24 minutes into this test on high. And if we look at our unit, we are at 396 degrees internally. It's 66 degrees outside. Now, let's see where we are on fuel usage. Woo, we have used quite a bit. We talked about this being, could we go 17 hours? I don't know, maybe. I will tell you, this thing is blowing. It's about as close as I can get my hand. It is really pumping out some air, but we're about right here. If I jiggle it around a little bit, you can kind of see it. And I would, that means we got to go about 4.5 hours to get to 17. I don't know. We'll see. Let's come back in just a little bit and check out. All right, we are at 15 hours and 27 minutes. And you can barely see just a little bit of fuel down in there. I don't think we're making it 17 hours. Let's stay out focused and see if we can get to 16 hours and 27 minutes. See if we can get another hour. Well, this thing has finally died. We're at area code 8, which means we're out of fuel. And we went 16 hours and 40 minutes on high. That is amazing. I had no idea this thing would go that long. Well, I tell you what, that was very surprising. And I very rarely get surprised when we're doing these tests on, basically on Chinese diesel heaters. They're usually the same, very predictable in what they can do. They all kind of use the same components. This one's very different. I know it might look the same, but it acted very, very differently. I am shocked that we were able to get 16 hours and 40 minutes on high as our test results. That's just crazy, considering something with 33% more capacity from a 6 liter to 8 liter got basically 17 hours just 2 weeks ago. So the final test results on this were low. We got 50 hours and 1 minute, and on high we got 16 hours and 40 minutes. So that's pretty impressive. I was a little bit shocked by this that I was talking about. So I did reach out to the company and kind of talk to them about some of the results. And they said by taking a more advanced design and implementing a smarter motherboard, we've achieved significant improvements in fuel efficiency and heating capacity while reducing fuel consumption by 38%, while increasing thermal efficiency by 40%. The maximum temperature has reached 140 degrees compared to 180 degrees in ordinary heaters. And they also talked a little bit about having an increased mouth as the output of helping with some of the efficiencies. So again, this is it's $229 on Amazon. There's some links below. There's a coupon code you can use there to get an additional $15 off. So a couple of I always do some pros and cons. And so there's a lot more pros than cons, and my main pro is starting off as a thoughtful design. This has been really thought out. In many cases, these diesel heaters are not thought out. This one's very well thought out, how easy it is to get in the case, how it's set up, how you don't have to lift it off the ground, everything's exposed. All the hot items are in the front. We've got things back here with the display. I just love how easy it is to open it up, and nice and simple. The other part is the app. The app is crazy good. Now Vavor and some other ones have an app as well. It just kind of shows you a little bit, and you can kind of hit start and stop. This thing's really configurable by being able to move from Celsius to Fahrenheit, very easily configure high altitude modes and move around, set timing, set schedules. It's just a really good app. I've been very impressed. And just the innovation. They've actually taken something that existed and really just made it better. High efficiency, easy to use, and quiet. Usually these diesel heaters have a lot of noise to them, although they've gotten better over the years. This one's quiet. Some of the cons. I will tell you, having to open this up to look at what my fuel level is. Is that a big deal? You know, it's really not that big a deal because we're getting so much time out of this. I pretty much know if I'm going to go to bed, it'll be fine. The other one's a fuel filter. It didn't have a fuel filter in. It's got one kind of built into the tank. You can see a picture of it right here. I mean, it's okay, it's doing the job, but it didn't have a fuel filter. Those are really the two cons that I've got for this. So very, very impressed with this. Again, this is the Hcalory Diesel Heater Toolbox 2. Not 1, but 2. And it's available on Amazon. There's some links below. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this video. It was a little bit long one, but this was a pretty in-depth review. Very impressed with this unit. Hey, if you gotten any value out of this, please click that like button. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click that bell to be notified when we got new content out. Again, my name is Robert Sherburne with Sherburne Outdoors. Everybody, thanks for your time. Have a great day.